Hello everyone, welcome back to Jikook Moments. Have you ever noticed a small moment, something that feels completely ordinary at first, maybe even easy to overlook, but when you think about it again, it suddenly feels a little too specific to be just a coincidence? Moments like that often appear in everyday interactions, especially when we're watching people who are very close to each other. Simple things can seem more meaningful depending on how we interpret them. Recently, the members of BTS took part in a casual interview with a simple but engaging concept. They read questions about themselves that appear on Google and answered them one by one. The atmosphere was light, full of jokes, and felt like a natural, everyday conversation. Nothing felt formal or scripted. Instead, what stood out was their genuine dynamic as longtime friends. But in the middle of that relaxed conversation, there was one moment that instantly caught people's attention. It came from Jungkook. During the discussion, he explained something that initially sounded like a light joke, about a flirting pattern. He described it quite specifically, looking at the left eye, then down to the lips, and then moving to the right eye. This creates a sort of triangle pattern in the way someone looks at another person. At first, it might sound like just a casual comment, but the more you think about it, the more it feels like that explanation was too detailed to be completely random. And that's where things start to get interesting. Because if you look more closely, this exact pattern is often seen in his interactions with Jimin. In many moments, whether in videos, interviews, or other content, Jungkook can be seen following a similar gaze pattern, looking into Jimin's eyes, then briefly down to his lips, and then back to his eyes again. Before this, many people might not have paid much attention to it. It could have been dismissed as a natural habit, a momentary distraction, or something unintentional. However, after Jungkook described that pattern so clearly, the way people view those moments began to shift. What once seemed random now appears more consistent. And that naturally raises a question. Is it really just a coincidence, or was Jungkook, perhaps unconsciously, describing his own habit? What makes it even more interesting is that this pattern doesn't just happen once or twice. It appears repeatedly, especially when Jimin is near him. Even small details like eye movement have started to draw more attention from fans. From there, the discussion began to grow. What started as a single sentence in a casual interview quickly expanded into a much bigger conversation. After that moment, the interview continued as usual, lighthearted and full of laughter. They joked about how searching BTS online brings up countless pieces of information about them. At one point, they even exaggerated things humorously, like describing RM as if he had been making music since birth. They also talked about reuniting in the United States after being apart due to individual schedules. Their time in Los Angeles was an important phase, where they worked on music even when they couldn't always be together as a full group. It was described as a busy yet memorable period. The conversation then shifted to their nicknames. RM explained that God of Destruction came from his clumsy habits in the past. Suga shared that Yoongi has been a name he's used for a long time. J-Hope mentioned that Hobie comes from hope, reflecting his bright and energetic personality. Jimin talked about the nickname Machi, which came from people's first impressions of him as soft and adorable. Meanwhile, Taeyong is known by several nicknames such as Tae, V, and CGV, the latter jokingly referring to his movie star-like visuals. Jungkook himself has nicknames like Rabbit and Golden Magne, highlighting his all-around talent. This title was even mentioned again toward the end of the interview as recognition of his abilities. They also discussed the concept of arirang, inspired by a traditional Korean song, and referred to ARMY as the eighth member of the group, emphasizing how fans are an essential part of their journey. They shared bits of their daily lives as well, from playing games and watching content to cooking and simply relaxing. These moments showed their simple, human side behind their global idol status. However, beyond the warmth of the interview, another discussion began to emerge outside of its original context. Some people started to misinterpret Jungkook's words and exaggerate them. There were even claims that he revealed private details about other members. But when you look closely, much of what he said actually referred to the past, back when they lived together in the same space. This misunderstanding mostly came from clips being taken out of context and translated inaccurately. When a sentence is separated from the full conversation, its meaning can easily change. In reality, many of the things mentioned in the interview were not new. The members have shared similar stories in the past. In that moment, the other members even nodded along, showing that it was something they were already familiar with. On the other hand, if you look at more recent interactions, it's clear that Jungkook has been expressing stronger personal boundaries. He has mentioned that he doesn't want to share a room or bed anymore, which reflects natural changes over time and a need for personal space. Unfortunately, details like this are often overlooked because they don't fit certain narratives that some people want to push. Additionally, Jimin is often dragged into discussions that aren't directly related to him. His name is sometimes used to create unnecessary comparisons or speculation, even when he isn't part of the original context. This only adds confusion and reinforces biased interpretations. This situation highlights how easily information can be distorted in the digital age. A single sentence, if taken out of context or mistranslated, can turn into something completely different from its original meaning. That's why it's so important to look at the full picture. Understanding context, checking sources, and paying attention to how information is delivered are key to avoiding misunderstandings. In the end, this interview was actually simple, full of jokes, light stories, and genuine bonding. But it also reminds us that not everything that seems simple truly is. Sometimes small details can carry deeper meaning, or they can be misleading when taken out of context. And going back to the beginning, about the pattern Jungkook described, what do you think? Was it really just a coincidence, or something that has been there all along, just waiting to be noticed? Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with fellow ARMY so we can talk about more interesting moments together on Jikook Moments. See you in the next video.